It's fair to say we all have our preference for things we like. There's Chevy fans, Mopar lovers, Ford followers, and even if you like imports, that's okay too. We just all have to work together to keep the automotive industry strong, and with the car culture we all share, we can do that for years to come. It's something that we all have to work on together, and that is something we all have in common. So with that being said today, this next project may not be up your alley, but it's cool and deserves some attention.
Today is not about a V8 or even making big power. We are getting back on a project that has had a ton of accomplishments and has been known to be one of the best engines ever designed. It has won the Baja 1000 3 times, has delivered packages to you and UPS trucks, and it has an industrial side being found on farms and job sites. You may even have had one back in 1965 in an F-Series pickup all the way up to 1996. This is the 4.9 liter 300 cubic inch inline 6-cylinder from Ford.
This one is ours. It's definitely an industrial version which had better parts than the standard truck engines, like a forged crankshaft. We found this contraption in Colorado and had it shipped here. It was on the back of a truck at some point and was used as a sprayer. Now we wanted to get it running where it sits, but the ring gear for the flywheel was removed at some point. So we pulled it and put it straight on the dyno cart. Now it was hooked up to the dyno, a new carburetor dropped on, and a few things were checked out. With fuel and water flowing, it was started for the first time in a long time.
Whoa! It's working! Oh my God!
It ran awesome with no leaks, knocks, or pings, so some power pulls were in order. It went right through the sweep, and here's what it made.
As far as we can tell, this engine has never been messed with, but we are going to change that today. We have some performance parts that we will be installing on a step-by-step basis to see how they affect power. Now, they are going to be a mixture of performance parts that are off the shelf from different manufacturers, and you can buy them all at Summit Racing Equipment.
The first part we are going to bolt on is a hooker header. It's a 6x2 long tube design that has a 1 5/8 inch primary tube diameter and 2.5 inch collectors. The second performance goodie is an Offenhauser C-Series manifold. It will increase power and torque through the RPM range. It has a square bore flange, so it accepts a 4-barrel carburetor.
Roller rockers are always a great upgrade to the valve train. These are Harlan Sharp's stud mount rockers that sport a 1.6 ratio. They are a full roller and have an aluminum body. This is a Summit Racing HEI or high energy ignition distributor. It's blueprinted, has a magnetic pickup, plus mechanical and vacuum advance. The coil that's included produces 50,000 volts. Does this catch your attention? Let's just say this engine will be around for a little while and we have some super cool plans for it. We don't need this mechanical governor, and lucky for us, it was barely hooked up to begin with. To increase our chances of removing these very old and rusty fasteners, we'll spray them with Seafoam Deep Creep. Some of the fasteners came out easily, while others needed persuasion. It's either going to go really good or really bad right here. Yeah, baby! We didn't find any surprises behind the manifold. We knew there'd be years' worth of oil deposits. The engine actually ran better than you'd think based on the way it looks. Oh, look at that. We wanted to reuse the stock exhaust manifold just for testing purposes. We just broke the manifold. But sometimes you have to change your plans. With a clear shot at the cylinder head, the intake and header bolted up relatively easy with some minor tweaks. In?
Oh man.
Well, oh my.
Dude, I'm flush.
Well, to say the carb is small would be an understatement. We ruined the original gasket, but a modified thermostat gasket worked just fine. With the headers installed, we're going back to the torture chamber. Every painted header will smoke on initial fire up. To make sure we get accurate numbers on the dyno, we'll let the excess paint burn off before making a run. Come on, sewing machine. Oh yeah.
Nice old pole.
Oh, look at that. 93.7, I'm gonna call it 94. 226 pound-feet of torque.
Not bad.
I mean, that's better than what the stock exhaust manifold was, right?
Yes, it is.
Now that affects the carburetor, that affects a bunch of stuff. We just literally jammed the header on and made a pole. So we've mismatched some parts immediately when we put that big header on there.
We're up 5 from the stock one.
See? That's worth it. That is 5% power. Up next, engines are like athletes. For them to really perform, they gotta breathe. We are still in the dyno room putting some parts on our 300 Ford project before we tear it down to do the big build. And the first thing we've done is we've replaced the stock exhaust manifold with a header. Now we did show a little bit of a gain. We cracked 90 horse. We made 93.7 horsepower, 226 pound-feet of torque. That is up from the old peak numbers, but it doesn't tell the whole story. What tells the story are the average numbers. From 1,500 to 3,500 now with the header on, it is up 18.5 pound-feet of torque and it is up 8.7 horsepower. Doesn't sound like a lot, but considering that the engine only makes 90 horsepower, that is a 20% gain in power over our average, and that's what makes things run good. Now, before we do anything else, I think we're gonna try and help it on the ignition side. Our points distributor works nice, but we are gonna upgrade it with an HEI style from Summit Racing. This is a blueprinted distributor and has an HEI style cap just like a Chevy with the coil on top. We're gonna make up some new wires and we're gonna see if that helps us on power. The new wires and distributor will certainly improve performance and reliability. Plus, installing a modern distributor means we can finally ditch that ballast resistor we had to use with the point setup. All right, we have a fresh distributor and wires in it. Now, the only thing we have done is change that. So we have set the timing back to where it was with the points distributor, and we're literally gonna see how it runs. It started up, so let's see what happens here.
Here we go.
So far, so good. Hey, look at that! That's an improvement.
94 horse, 232 pound-feet.
Clean, clean.
Yep.
Right now, we are at an improvement. Just, I mean, very slightly, but a little bit better quality spark, maybe.
Yep.
Spark is almost spark at something at this power level, but I mean, that's an improvement.
That's nice.
All in one, you know, having the coil on it makes it a little bit better for packaging. You don't have to have that ballast resistor in there. I think it's a little bit better setup, and it looks good, it runs good.
Well, the wires are a testament to the MSD wires. You have a lower ohms of resistance per foot.
Yep.
All right,
that's cool.
so you were leaning somewhere before we did that. So let's go ahead and see what happens when we open up the intake side.
Yeah, I think we could definitely make an improvement on the intake side of this engine. So
And we have something for it.
we have a little something for it. Industrial engines are often built to run long, but not strong, and the induction setup on the 300 handles the job well. Since we're looking for more power, we're installing an Offenhauser C-Series intake manifold. It lets us run a 4-barrel carburetor, delivering enough fuel and air to the cylinders to hopefully make a sizable power gain. The carb is a well-used street demon from a previous project, and it's rated at 625 CFM. Yeah, that's the carb that was off the Seafoam Camaro original engine, so we know it runs, and it ran okay.
Yeah.
This will be a good one. I think the engine will turn higher, so we'll crack it up to 4,000.
Deal.
I bet you this is going to be significant, because the manifold vacuum on the old one, on that little log manifold, had over 9 inches of vacuum.
And a 1-barrel in that little hole.
Yeah.
All right, who's ready?
Oh, not bad.
Hold it right down.
Oh, look at that.
Wow. Wow.
That is a new engine right there. That is a new engine.
Whoa! 166.5 on power and 277.7 pound-feet.
That is a new engine.
All right, let's back it up. We got to back it up.
All right.
Just real quick. Just to
say we did.
Yeah, that's a percentage gain right there.
That's spectacular.
All right, here we go.
It doesn't actually mind that carburetor too much. Man,
that's it, man.
That's sweet right there. 166, 270 is going to print numbers now.
And you're exactly right. Look at what it did with manifold vacuum.
It's going to be under 1 inch.
Yep.
Yep. It was over 9 inches, and now okay. So there's a good example of manifold restriction, right? You have a 1 barrel and a very restrictive intake tract, and we literally did nothing. We didn't change a cam. We didn't change a spring. We did this in incremental changes, and now we've taken an engine that topped out at 95 horse. And now it's making 166 by a manifold and carb.
It's insane.
Up next, picking up power and durability with our inline 6. The Ford 300 inline 6 almost doubled its horsepower after changing the induction setup, but we are not done yet.
Well, we're on a good path so far. Everything's picked up power.
This is like a time capsule right here. Look at this gem.
Wow.
That is extremely clean.
There's nothing sitting in the head.
Wow. We're replacing the stock sled fulcrum rockers with a set of Harlan Sharp aluminum roller rockers. They have roller trunnions and tips for less friction and increased durability. The rockers are a true 1.6 ratio and will work with the stock length push rods. We'll adjust them to a 1/4 turn past 0 lash on this stock flat tappet hydraulic lifter setup. CompCam's valve train assembly spray will pre-lube everything before initial fire up. The Polylock set screws are torqued to 18 pound-feet. All right, rocker arm change. Aside from all the other things that we've done, this is one of the big things that we've actually had to crack the valve cover off and put an internal part in it. So I hope it does something. If nothing else, it's good for longevity, and we're going to use them anyway in another build. So
exactly.
It'll be interesting to see what this does versus a stock set of sled fulcrum rockers. So.
All right, I got all the notes in. Same pole.
Yeah.
Ready to rock?
Yeah, give her the business. Still nice and clean. Might have snuck a couple more in her.
I think it did. I saw the torque number. It was pretty good.
Hey, look at that. 280.8.
Yep.
And 169 horse. We're so close to 170 horse.
Well, watch this. It's either going to do it or it won't.
Well, we get a little heat in her. What's nice about this one with that thermostat and it's maintaining water temp, and we can go for the glory number and cool it way down, right? But this is way more realistic in real world, so.
It got there.
I don't know if it did it or not. Nah.
No. That torque number laying it down.
Yep, 280. And it was one, I mean, that's a half a horse.
Yeah.
That's within the repeatability of the dyno. Dude, that's nice. Take a look how the engine upgrades performed. From a baseline of 88 horsepower and 217 pound-feet of torque, the header gained an additional 5.7 peak horsepower and 9 peak pound-feet of torque. Changing the distributor and spark plug wires added another 1.2 peak horsepower and another 6.2 pound-feet. The manifold and carb upgrade made the biggest difference, adding 71.1 peak horsepower and another 45.8 pound-feet. Finally, the rocker swap yielded 3.5 peak horsepower and 2 more pound-feet of torque. That's a total gain of 81.5 peak horsepower and 63 peak pound-feet of torque versus the baseline run. The average numbers in the operating range of 1500 to 3500 RPM are even better. They are up 51.4 horsepower and 101.5 pound-feet of torque. This feels